Welcome to day 2 of the Grand Art Experiment. Day 2 of month 2. So we're getting good. If anything else, I've proven that I can stick to a daily schedule. That's always good. So let's get through this. So today I did a bunch of my warm-ups. Shading in circles. Doing different varying line widths and line exercises, and then getting straight into anatomy. So in front of you, you can see the poses I've chose to go with today. I drew a few pages. Essentially what I'm going to do each day is draw a couple of different poses and take the best lineup to then continue with. And yeah, I kind of like these blank dummies. A little bit more dynamic than yesterday's. Yesterday's were very kind of, again, very stagnant. There wasn't much movement in them. These are pretty okay. The guy holding the tray on the left is good, but I really like the guy on the right. Even though he's kind of standing still, he has a little bit of motion, a little bit more life, I suppose, to it. Than the other two. And yeah, I think overall it's getting easier, it's getting much quicker to draw these, get them to a stage where I can then move on to stage 2, which is getting the inks, which I'll show you right now. As you can see here, the inks went okay. I'm trying to make the costumes a little bit more entertaining. Went for just a blatant rip-off superhero kind of look. Trying to mess around with hair. I've kind of given myself the idea that I should mess around with hair rather than faces first. Now whether that's the right idea to do or not, I'm not sure. But trying to come up with interesting characters that I can kind of pump out quickly. Because again, this whole idea of trying to get better in 6 months. 6 months is not a lot of time, and I'm very aware of how quickly I need to move in order to try and get to a decent place. Cape guy with the power to be generic is it's my scribbles on this page. He is generic superhero 1 through 600. I do like the saying on the other one, not sure I would eat from this guy's restaurant. it's true. It'll come more clear when we get into the colour. Inking, again, inking's very simple. It's more, I wouldn't so much even call it inking, I'd call it just more refined line work at this point, because I'm trying to get used to inking digitally and trying to get smooth lines. But there's an awful lot to inking that I need to learn. When to use heavy lines, when to use light lines, when to use thick, when to use thin. The difference between multiple different kind of uses of cross-hatching and hatching, and a lot of that's going to take some time to get used to. And at the moment I'm just trying to get used to putting the very basic, almost like biro pen over pencil, and just getting used to kind of just doing that efficiently. I think these came out okay. I think the inking came out okay. They're not great, they're not terrible, they're fine. They're passable for a second day. And similar to doing this, I've also done a few female lineups as well. So here you've got actually 2 guys and 1 female. Again, trying to be more dynamic, trying to get a bit more of a dynamic pose, maybe trying to get ahead of myself a little bit. But I'm happy how these sketches turned out. I like the fact that they're not just standing straight on or turning slightly to the left or to the right, or generic pose 1 through 6. But I think they turned out okay. I tried to do kind of like an Arnold Schwarzenegger bodybuilding pose on the one on the right. It it went alright. I'm still forgetting to collapse the chest. It needs to curve with the arms, otherwise it doesn't make sense. Which is kind of weird because when I look at the center figure, his body's curving, and the left of it is actually collapsing in on itself, which makes a lot more sense. But yeah, it's getting a lot easier to pump out more dynamic poses like these as each day goes by. Moving on to the inks of these, my comment of really needing to learn hands is very true. Inking in the middle one, inking on the one on the left is okay. The one on the right just, yeah, it's not great, not ideal. I'm also continuing to do very long lines for the abdominal muscles, rather than just more subtly lining them in. But again, slow and steady. The guy in the middle has insanely huge neck muscles. He's definitely been hitting the pull-up bar and doing shoulder workouts. And again, female breasts are still proving to be quite difficult. I was trying to figure out when she lifted her arm up how the breast would actually move with it. I just haven't quite got that right, and everything's very stark, especially for the lines on the groin. It's not as refined, not as subtle. Everything's very, very, very in your face. But again, it's day 2. It's not too bad. I will struggle on. I want to try and pump out a few more of these for the next coming days, in order to just get comfortable with it and slowly try to apply improvements, and see where we get to by month 3. Hopefully it'll be another increase in skill similar to how it was this month compared to month 1. And then finally, of course, moving into the color aspect of this month, which is first dealing with the male characters. I think these came out well. It was my first attempt at using a screen layer to kind of highlight areas. Again, very far too stark. There's no subtlety between that and the rest of the character. It's very kind of like, even the character on the left, if you look at the bottle on his hip, there's no subtlety where I put the glow or the highlight, which is probably a mistake. It is a mistake. I need to get a little bit more experience in how to blend them, but and the transition between light and dark, especially between glowing aspects of it, needs to be a little bit more, a lot more subtle. But again, I'm just getting used to marking out where light, dark elements are going to go into the image. The 2 characters wearing the capes, I think, came out pretty well. I'm happy with them. I think they look like substandard comic book characters, I guess, in a way. They're not great. They're not terrible. Honestly, I think my favorite thing is the entire page is the tray of fruit. I think that actually came out pretty well, rather than anything else. But yeah, these guys came out. They came out okay. They came out good. And I'm really trying to get like a sketch, an ink, and color done within the same day, which is, man, it takes a long time. It does. It eats up time. It really does. And trying to get that balance between doing that, warm-ups beforehand, and then doing some coursework. It's something I've heard about, like, digital artists complaining about when they got to do something from start to finish within a day, and not just a day, but like within 2 or 3 hours, because that's pretty much the time I have for these at the moment. And to get the rest of the practice in, it's difficult to try and get these done in a reasonable time frame. but I think they turn out decently. It's not a complicated process. I've gotten a little bit better with trying to blend the light to shadows. Again, they're still very stark, but I think the guy holding the tray on the left is a little bit better. It's a little bit more of a subtlety, I suppose, but not much of one. And then moving on to the female, or not the female, but the two men and the female. This one was more of a car crash. I gotta be honest. It's just going straight back into very, very harsh shadows, which is fine. Like I think these would be fine if I was pumping out a webcomic, just a 3-panel webcomic that you needed to do in a very short amount of time. I think they'd be okay. They might even be okay as very background characters in a comic book. But anything other than that, being zoomed in like this and seeing them up front and personal, there's just a lot that needs to be done to improve them. But I think it's getting better. I think drawing hair is getting easier as well, especially the fact that the two characters with hair are actually looking a lot better than the guy with no hair, whose head is a very unfortunate shape. Also, his pectoral muscles are just... I don't know what's going on there. But again, we're continuing. It's getting better, and yeah, that's my update for today, guys. I will be back tomorrow with another one. And yeah, have a fantastic day. Like, share, and subscribe if you want, and just have a better tomorrow, and rest of your day be fantastic, and fantastic to everyone else, and have a good one. See you tomorrow. Cheers.